Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, Type 1 Outdoors exists to educate and inspire Type 1 diabetics to merge their passions for the outdoors with this disease in a safe and responsible way. This is the third video in a series about backpacking with diabetes, and today we're going to be talking about how to take care of your feet on the trail. If you're a diabetic, you know the challenge of keeping your feet safe and protected, and that can become even more challenging when you're walking miles and miles a day on rough terrain where your feet are rubbing around in your shoe. And that can create what are called hot spots, which lead to blisters, which can lead to infections. Plus, you can add in river crossings and things like that that often happen on the trail, and it can be a challenge. Those are all things that I've faced on the trail and had to learn from and get past. And I just wanted to share that with you guys for anyone out there that's getting ready for a trip, or if you're thinking about a trip but are concerned about how to take care of your feet. For me, it starts with prevention, and prevention starts with choosing the right shoe. In 2017, me, my brothers, and our friends headed out to Colorado for a 4-day backpacking trip, and me and my brothers all bought Danner hiking boots for the trip. In our minds, we thought that that was the best hiking boot. They're a really legendary brand, they're made in the USA, but with our lack of experience, we didn't take in factors like their weight, the material that they're made with, and the fact that they have to be broken in before you take them out on the trail, or you will get blisters. This right here is the Danner boot that I wore. It's really bulky, really heavy. It's pretty stiff. I still haven't really broken them in. And it's also somewhat waterproof, and I thought that was a really great thing. We all got these. We were all experiencing blisters and hot spots and discomfort. Since then, we haven't worn them, and we've moved past the idea of wearing these kind of iconic Danner hiking boots on our backpacking trips. Last year in 2019, I bought a pair of Merrell low-top hiking shoes. I don't have those with me. I actually sold them. And the reason I sold them is because they were extremely uncomfortable. I was getting hot spots on my toes and on the bottoms of my feet, and that can lead to blisters. Luckily, it didn't for me because there were some preventative measures that I took that I'll talk about in a second. But the Merrells were stiff as well. The material was leather also, which I should have known better of. And my foot had too much room to move around, so when I was going downhill, my foot was pressing into the front and my toes were getting crammed, rubbing around, and creating blisters. So I was still on the search after that trip for a flexible and breathable, yet protective and durable hiking shoe. That same year, I bought this shoe right here, the Altra Temp 1.5. These are zero drop trail running shoes. They're not waterproof, but they're durable. They have a nice protective front on the toe box. Obviously, you can see that there's quite a bit of wear and tear. We got a flappy going on here and a bunch of frayed stuff here, but I can't complain about these shoes. They're incredible, they're lightweight, and they're flexible, and yet they're protective, and that was so important to me. Earlier this year, I took them on a trip to New Mexico, and me and my brother went a little over 30 miles over 4 days. I really have no complaints about those shoes. To me, those are my go-to. I will probably always wear Altra running shoes when I hike. Recently, I upgraded to the Olympus 4 from Altra running shoes. And I got these because they have a lot of the same qualities as my other Altras, but my other Altras had taken so much wear and tear that I figured it was time for a new pair of shoes. I like these because it kept the protective front here on the toe box. It has the zero drop sole, and it's really wide, and that to me is really important for comfort reasons. I haven't taken these out on the trail yet, but I'm actually going on a trip next week to Ouachita National Forest in Arkansas with my brother and a few friends, and we're gonna be hiking a loop called Eagle Rock Loop. It's about 30 miles. We're gonna be doing it over 4 days, and I will be wearing these. I plan to document the trip. I wanna talk about how I manage my diabetes in action actually on the trail. I'll also talk about how the shoes do, my gear, and there'll be some good content that comes from that trip. So I'm excited to see how these hold up on the trail. Like I said earlier, when you're on the trail, you may face water crossings. It's pretty common when you're up in the mountains, especially if there's snow melt. And so you need to be prepared to cross water. And I wouldn't recommend crossing water in your trail shoes because you can get wet socks and wet shoes. And if those don't dry out, they present their own set of problems. So for me, I always take these Teva sandals. They're really cheap, they're really light, but they've been really durable. It's lasted me about a year and multiple trips of backpacking. A big reason I like these is because the sole is thick, but it's not heavy. And if you look at something like a Chaco, the sole is also thick, but it's super heavy. Chacos are probably the heaviest sandal I've ever put on. So for me, these are perfect because they're lightweight, but they're also protective with that thick sole. And I really have no complaints about this shoe. Now, in some instances, you can't prevent blisters. If you're going miles and miles a day, it's likely that no matter what shoe you have, you're gonna get hot spots at least, and that may lead to blisters. So there are a couple of measures you can take to treat hot spots or to treat blisters. The first one is what's called Foot Glide. It's by a company called Body Glide. It's basically like a little deodorant that you put on hot spots or on blisters, and it causes it to not have so much friction on your shoe or on your sock, which can prevent hot spots from becoming blisters. The second way you can treat hot spots or blisters is through what's called moleskin. And moleskin is cool because it's very cheap. It's basically an extra layer of protection that you can put over a hot spot. It's sticky on one side and protective on the other. Whether you use Foot Glide or moleskin is really preference. I hear a lot of people like one or like the other, or you can take both. So in summary, there are 3 protective measures you can take when you're out on the trail. The first, which I think is the most important, is choosing the right shoe. The second is something like Foot Glide, and the third is moleskin. I hope that's helpful for you. If you have your own favorite hiking shoe, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.